Hi scientists, Caroline here. I'm standing on the shore of a wide, calm bay. The water sparkles in the sun, and graceful herons search in the mud for a bite of tasty blue crab. This is the Chesapeake Bay watershed, the largest estuary in the United States, and an important watershed for 6 states in the northeastern part of the country. Chesapeake Bay's watershed covers 64,000 square miles, stretching from New York to Virginia. The blue crab industry here is a huge source of food and income for the people who live here. But there's a problem. Take a look at this satellite image of the Chesapeake Bay watershed. Do you notice the cloudy brown waterways? This water used to be blue. What do you think is causing this change? And how does this impact species that live here, like the blue crab? Pause the video here to record your predictions. Today we'll explore how pollution is changing important ecosystems like the Chesapeake Bay watershed, and how scientists use data to help protect aquatic ecosystems around the world. In order to figure out what caused that brown water in the satellite image, we need to learn a little more about the surrounding land. The Chesapeake Bay watershed is home to an important, vibrant ecosystem called an estuary. An estuary is an area where fresh water from rivers meets salty ocean water. Not only are these important meeting spots for the tributaries in a watershed, but estuaries are incredibly productive ecosystems. They filter clean water and support a diverse range of wildlife. Estuaries are sometimes called the nurseries of the sea because so many species come to these shallow, marshy waters to produce offspring. The plants in estuaries, like seagrass and mangrove trees, do more than shelter young aquatic animals. They also stabilize shorelines and prevent erosion. These plants also act as natural buffers for storm runoff, slowing the flow of floodwaters. But human activities are damaging the normal functions of the estuary in the Chesapeake Bay. Take a look at this satellite image of the Chesapeake Bay watershed again. What might have changed in the ecosystem to allow for all of this pollution to enter the water? Pause the video here to record your thoughts. With all that brown stuff in the water, it looks like something must have happened to the plants in the estuary. When humans clear land for buildings and agriculture, they remove the plants and trees that help filter pollutants and stabilize the shoreline. Without them, more pollution and sediment are washed into streams. This is what's happening in the Chesapeake Bay. Wastewater and fertilizers from farms are running off into small tributaries in the Chesapeake Bay watershed without being filtered by plants. This is more than just a little bit of dirt and fertilizer making the water look cloudy. This pollution can set off a ripple effect through the whole ecosystem, impacting wildlife and the humans who depend on this watershed. Now that we've figured out what's getting into the Chesapeake Bay, let's take a closer look under the water's surface this time. This estuary should be teeming with wildlife, but there's nothing to be found in this once vibrant estuary ecosystem. Instead of a bustling mix of fish and crabs darting through plants, we see lots of algae growth and sediment floating in the water, and everything below that is very dark. Why do you think the wildlife is gone? Pause the video here to record your predictions. The Chesapeake Bay is fed by thousands of small streams and 5 major rivers, all leading into this one estuary before flowing to the sea. When tributaries carry nutrient pollution and sediment, the nitrogen and phosphorus in the fertilizers build up at the end of the watershed, leading to massive algal blooms that, along with dirt and sediment, block sunlight from reaching below the surface to aquatic plants. These plants are vital. They're food and shelter for many animals, and they also produce oxygen. Without sunlight, the plants die, and oxygen levels in the water decrease. When oxygen levels in the water get too low and sediment smothers fish gills, aquatic life like plants, fish, oysters, and crabs can't survive. This is called a dead zone. Dead zones can harm or kill wildlife and aquatic ecosystems. Not all of the animals die, though. Sometimes these species will move out of the dead zone and to other parts of the watershed with cleaner water. But if too many individuals move to the same area, it can stress the limited space, food, and shelter in this new aquatic ecosystem, throwing off the balance in ecosystems far from the pollution. This is exactly what's happening in the Chesapeake Bay estuary. Nutrient pollution and sediment pollution are building up in the bay, creating dead zones. In the Chesapeake Bay area, blue crab fishing is one of the major economic industries, promoting jobs in fishing, food service, and tourism in the region. With this in mind, how do you think the environmental costs of water pollution impact the economy in the Chesapeake Bay? Pause the video here to record your thoughts. The ecosystem damage from nutrient and sediment pollution reduces blue crab populations. Fewer crabs means less fishing, fewer local jobs, and less income for the community. In your lesson activities, you'll have the chance to explore how dead zones in the Chesapeake watershed impact the blue crab populations that produce billions of dollars for states in this watershed. But Chesapeake Bay isn't alone. The Gulf of America, known internationally as the Gulf of Mexico, has a huge dead zone from farm runoff. The Baltic Sea, the Yangtze River, the Amazon Delta, they all face similar problems. Estuaries around the world are in trouble. Pollution can travel through rivers and all the way to the oceans. If every estuary faced this kind of pollution, it would affect the whole global ocean system. So what can we do? Scientists, farmers, and communities are working together to protect estuaries all over the world and to restore the Chesapeake Bay. Buffer strips, areas where plants are strategically placed to slow runoff and to help filter water, are being used to help restore wetlands and estuaries that have been damaged by human activity. And sustainable alternatives to pesticides, like crop rotation, are being adopted by farmers and communities to help reduce nutrient pollution and shrink dead zones in waterways. But before we can fix water pollution to protect aquatic ecosystems, we have to know where the pollution problems exist. Analyzing water quality data is a critical step for scientists and communities to make the best decisions for aquatic ecosystems. Think about the water pollution problem in the Chesapeake Bay estuary. If you were a scientist working to protect this watershed, what data would you want to collect to help you understand the problem? Pause the video here to record your thoughts. Maybe you thought about tracking specific pollutant levels in different waterways, like nutrient and sediment runoff levels. Or maybe you thought about tracking the populations of important wildlife species, like the blue crab. In your lesson activities, you'll have the opportunity to think like a scientist and analyze real ecosystem data from the Chesapeake Bay watershed. Understanding aquatic ecosystems and the unique problems threatening those ecosystems helps us make smart choices and protect our planet. Even if you don't live in the Chesapeake Bay, you live in a watershed and are connected to others. Learning about watershed ecosystems helps protect them for generations to come. As we went through the lesson today, we learned about the ways that water pollution can cause big impacts to ecosystems. The Chesapeake Bay is a valuable estuary, facing threats from nutrient and sediment pollution. This pollution leads to eutrophication, algal blooms, dead zones, and loss of biodiversity. But these issues don't just stop at the Chesapeake Bay. Water pollution happens in watersheds around the world, harming all types of aquatic ecosystems. And as watersheds flow to the ocean, so does the pollution and the ecosystem impacts. The good news? We can use data to help us understand what's happening and how to make it better. Until next time, remember, every drop of water is a part of a bigger system. By understanding how water pollution impacts ecosystems, we can develop sustainable solutions to tackle the problem. Keep learning and asking questions, and I'll see you next time.
Hey, hey.